talk about his mistakes and his solutions, and then we need to talk about disability and how a person can utilize the Social Security Disability Insurance program, right to work, to either to accept his disability and work within the system, or in my case, I'm hoping to use the system to exit the system and become fully employed. And that's what I'm working on right now. So those are the topics for today, and let's start it with government. I believe in limited form of government. I believe in the republic form of government. That's put forward by Ronald Reagan, in which to have low taxes, a strong defense, and limited government. He believed that in cutting unnecessary programs. Unfortunately, I think he did it too much. I think what he did is he affected the lives of the poor, and I don't think that was a good decision on his part. I do believe in what he offered, which I do benefit from. He and the Democratic Congress at the time, led by Tip O'Neill of the House, they created the Social Security Disability Act, which actually that started in the 50s, but something happened in the 80s which solidified it. I'm not sure exactly what that was, but the Social Security Disability Insurance Act began, I believe, in 1959 under Dwight D. Eisenhower, and it's continued to this day. And it's necessary for people who can't work and provide for themselves. But I do believe in work incentives. And I believe right now the current system needs reform because, a person can work or volunteer and contribute to society. But once one is on disability benefits, there is no requirement for that. And I don't believe that is correct. I believe there should be some incentive in the program, which is either 20 hours a week of volunteering or 20 hours a week of work, whatever you choose, but somehow contributing and giving back to society. And that is not currently a program that is in place. I am a member of the Grand Avenue Club, and the average Grand Avenue Club member dies 10 to 15 years younger than the average population. And the reason for that is their lifestyle. They often live unhealthy lifestyles and poor diet, lack of exercise, and all of that is due to receiving the help without the restraint of work, without the restraint of volunteering. Some do volunteer, but the vast majority of them just come for lunch at the Grand Avenue Club and they don't volunteer. So I really would like to see a disability system with an engaged workforce or volunteer force, and currently that's not the case. If I were able to influence Congress, which I can with my vote, but I can't beyond that, I would argue, I would legislate for that.
Well, Neil, you raced pretty fast through that. I think we might be ending the show here.
No, let's go. Let's move on. Let's go back to the original conversation. What do you believe is the appropriate form of government, Tim?
No, I love that. I mean, I think that we have decided that after the American Revolution, we signed the date, I'm not sure, really good Constitution. Somewhere in there is a Bill of Rights. And then, of course, the Constitution is a living document. It gets interpreted, it gets changed a little bit, but a good 90-something% of it is we're still going back to that document. And then I think, are we in favor of limited government or government that touches every part of our life, which we call big government? And I think the last election, and I say I think because I'm not sure, was a referendum on are they taxing us too much? Well, okay, if they're taxing us too much, well, then maybe we're spending too much. And here's the issue I have with that is, yes, our government is not perfect. In no way. Oh, but it's better. It's better. It's better than most governments in the world. Even in countries where you would swear they have freedom, they don't have the freedom that we have. Okay, so our form of government is better in so many ways. Our taxation seems to be getting worse. So there's a disconnect here. And I won't go on forever. Neil, you're next. There's a disconnect. We're taxed too much, so we're spending too much. And I'm saying we're not spending too much, but we are taxed too much. Our spending does not need to be cut. And there must be a way to cut our spending. But but we need to bring our taxes, maybe do what California does. What California did was cut taxes. We need to cut taxes in this country. And that's why Donald Trump got elected. I'm pretty sure when they said big government, when they said big government, when Donald Trump says, make America great again, he's trying to tell Americans, hey, I'm on your side. We're taxing you too much. But unfortunately, he's not bringing taxes down. He's bringing spending down. That's not going to bring taxes down. Now, Neil, you and I are students of government. We're students of politics. We understand this, Neil. How are we going to bring spending down? How are we going to cut taxes? Okay? How are we going to do that? By cutting spending, we're not cutting taxes.
Well,
okay,
we need to cut spending, and then, no, we need to cut spending first, and then we need to have tax reform. So I don't know if that's the second part of Trump's plan, but I just heard today that he is talking about privatizing Social Security. It already is a private institution that is federally funded in part. So I don't know that he's privatizing entirely, but it is a private institution. It is not entirely government run.
Okay. And, that's a lot for a show that we're having this discussion. That's a lot of information. And so again, we're cutting spending. We're doing things to our government programs, but the net effect is the government still has their hands in our pockets. Still deeply in our pockets. We go to spend money, they tax our gasoline, they tax our wages when we earn them, they tax our wages at the end of the year when we fill out forms. We work overtime, they want 40% of the overtime money. Okay, so we buy something, we buy cigarettes. Not only do we pay federal and state taxes, but then on top of that, we pay another sales tax. It's hard to keep your money in your pocket, right? Because it won't be taxed if it's in your pocket, but somehow it loses value from year to year. But hey, it makes more sense to save your money than to spend it. And when will Americans start to realize that, hey, it's easier to save your money than it is to spend it? Americans will stop spending their money if they keep getting taxed like this. And we have to address taxation. I hate to sound like a Republican, because I'm not, but we have to cut taxes. That's what Americans want. What they're getting is less government services, but what they want is less government taxes. They want to keep more money than they earned. So we've got a Republican here, Neil, and I'll be a Democrat, and I'm going to already agree with you, Neil, that yes, government needs changes. We need to be able to earn a living and not get penalized for doing that. Okay? And then
certain government services and therefore certain government taxes are necessary. We need a strong defense. Everyone agrees on that. We need garbage collection. We need police and fire. We need those things. Where we lack is we have too much bureaucracy, and I don't know exactly what that means. But we have a strong central government which is too large, and I think that's what Trump is trying to do, is cut that large government. And I would agree with that. I would agree with the statement, the belief that we have too large of a federal government. I believe the states are not too large, although certain states are, like New York and California, but the central government is too strong. It's too large, and I think we need to cut that. And I agree with Trump in that decision.
Okay, well, thank you. I mean, that was short and sweet. Where do we cut the federal government? I mean, these, you know, where? I mean, where is the federal government spending out of control? And if you per person, per American, you're going to get some different answers. Not a lot of different answers, but yeah, we're going to get different answers. Where do we cut big federal government? Where is it? What should we do? Okay, like, do we not want a Social Security when we reach 62? Don't we want that monthly check? Or that's called retirement, Social Security. Americans love Social Security, but you may hear people saying, "Oh, I have my 401k. That's fine. I don't need Social Security anymore." So I don't know. It's my Social Security is going to be $870 in about a year from now. I'll get $870. I hope you're not recording this. I don't want anybody to know. You know, a month. Now, where I live, I can't afford to live on that. I'm going to have to move, right? Well, I do get reduced rent, right? But for the large economy, for the community I live in, I won't be able to survive on Social Security. That means I'll do what everybody else is doing, and that's keep working until I die. Now, there's a subject. I didn't introduce it. Neil, you introduced it. Social Security. Is it worthwhile to have
it? It needs to be under reform. It needs to be reformed, and I believe the disability part of it needs to be reformed. I think both need to be reformed. I don't know the answer, but we're living longer, and I think there needs to be an acceptance of that. And I think there needs to be an increase in taxes on Social Security, on wages for Social Security. And I believe that's part of the solution.
Okay, so big government has a lot to do with increase on taxes. You're increasing taxes. That's exactly what you said you didn't want. You know, you're going to increase taxes to support more Social Security. So,
it's a complicated subject because we need to pay for what we have. And that's where I think Trump has the solution. We need to either reduce the spending or increase the taxes. And I don't think we're not living within our means. And that's what Trump is trying to address.
Okay.
Thank you.
We had a congressman here in Janesville. His name was Paul Ryan, and President Trump was president while Paul Ryan was in Congress. Paul Ryan was a budgetary genius.
Uh-huh.
Now, when I say genius, Paul Ryan knew the whole federal budget inside and out, the kind of education you would get at the University of Wisconsin.
Sure.
Federal, really dry stuff, really boring, but the federal budget, Paul Ryan was the master architect of the knowledge. I mean, he was a master of the federal budget process. And I remember and so somebody like that would be able to say, yeah, this is where we can cut and this is where we can't cut. Because I'm telling you about the federal budget. This is where cuts are possible. And these are programs that are protected. And you can't touch these programs. So when Trump says he's going to cut this and he's going to cut that, I'm just wondering, is it going to have an effect? Is federal spending going down because you're cutting the budget? And I would say no. Federal spending doesn't go down because you make cuts. And most Americans would disagree with that. They would say, keep cutting, keep cutting. But federal spending just keeps going up and up. We have entitlement programs we have the debt we have the interest on our debt that keeps growing every year. Just like your bank account, the more interest you get on a bank account, the more money you get year after year. Same thing with the budget, except we're losing money because it's interest on money that we borrowed. So spending doesn't go down just because you make budget cuts to programs. So that's my Democratic view. That's my Democrat view. Is it's not quite what you think it is. Do we spend more money than we bring in every year? There's another subject. We hired more tax collectors under Joe Biden. I think I heard that 100,000 new IRS agents were hired. So we're collecting this money. So why isn't it going? Why, we're collecting these taxes. Okay? So come down a deficit if we cut budget, cut spending. And the answer to that question is no. We have to cut taxes. We have to tell the American people, you can keep more. Again, I'm starting to sound like a Republican here, but we need to cut taxes. You need to keep more of what you earn. Your check is bigger. Your employer can pay you more money. And by paying you the same amount, you get more money because the employment taxes are going down. So if Trump is going to cut programs, he's going to be wildly popular as a president. Unfortunately, it might hurt Americans when he does this. Still, he'll get those votes, even though he's hurting people. And that's all I fear is that individuals will suffer under cuts that are meant to, keep us living longer. I think Social Security, you might agree with me, is a program to get us to live longer. I think the matter is, if we're suffering, we're not going to live as long. Social Security is meant to stop us from suffering so we can live longer. Just a couple thoughts. What do you think, Neil?
Well, I think I don't know the answer. I know that, like I said, I don't know the answer where to reduce federal spending, but I believe it needs to be reduced. And I think that can be done under the current administration is going to do that. It's going to play out where it's going to be cut. And right now we have a Republican-led Congress, House and Senate, and we have a Republican president. So he's got 2 years to lay out his vision, and he's working on that. Unfortunately, this gentleman, Elon Musk, has too much power, and I don't believe that he should be given the power to work in the Treasury and the Social Security area that he has been given. And one person said to me quite wisely, he says, if we want to reduce the amount of government spending, simply reduce the amount of money we pay to Elon Musk, who has 60 billion in contracts with the federal government. And I don't agree with that. That's too much power, and he has too much money going. He has too much. He's an unelected person, and I don't believe he should be given the power that he has. So I don't know the answer to all this. I'm going to read up more and more, and maybe next week we can talk more about this and find out some solutions, some practical solutions to this issue. I think we need to discuss this more. I think there should be a several-week discussion, because I think this is our country, and we both care deeply about it. And I think we need to do that. And somehow we also need to attract more listeners so that they can share in this as well. I did mention it to two friends. I don't know if they have thought about going on the program, but we can promote the program with friends and family. But so I would like to see that happen. But I really believe that we need to start addressing these subjects and reading up on it. I would encourage you to read up on it and listen to, I know you're not currently listening to the news, but I would encourage you to do that so that we can have formed intellectual discussions about this.
Well, I guess my thought is this: we elected a president, and usually, or we assume there's the issues that we voted for our candidate for president. In Donald Trump's case, is less government, or let's see, make America great again. Okay, he said he was going to cut so many programs, so that must mean that's what Americans are saying. All we know is that we don't know what Americans are saying except when they go out and vote. That's how we know.
Correct.
So is there any other indication that this is what our Americans are saying? Are Americans suffering? Is there any valid proof besides the ballot box? Are people, are there soup kitchens where people can't afford to earn a living? Where is the problem? Neil, tell me what is it that is the issue? Like, we say the issue is too much spending, but do we have Americans saying that? Are Americans coming out and saying this? Is there any proof of this? Right? That Americans are saying that?
I don't know. We have exceeded our time for today, and I think we should close out the show.
Wonderful. Great place to stop. Awesome. Next show next week. See you then.
Okay. See you then. Bye-bye.
All right. Goodbye.
All right, everybody. That was another great episode of Blue Collar Crypto. We'll be back in 1 hour for the next segment of Blue Collar Crypto. We've got Tim Tarosian and Neil Weber teaming up and having these edgy conversations about economics and government and things for folks at home, issues concerning our blue collar workers, and all of these ideas of what do you do when your paycheck from your blue collar job, or for many, your blue collar jobs, plural, could be 2 or 3 jobs people are doing at any one time. So we're going to keep it going here. So I'm Kurt Roskoff from the World of Ability Podcast Network, and happy to be bringing you this great programming by hosts and co-hosts like Tim and Neil, and everything else we've got laid out for the week. So this has been your weekly kickoff for our podcast programming for this week, February 23rd, 2025. See you in an hour. Bye for now.